All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA DFS video. Going to be breaking down the small 4-game slate on Tuesday. Let's go ahead and get into it. Now, just initial thoughts here for the slate. It's not the most pretty slate, guys. It's a 4-game slate with some inferior teams, let's say, going up against some good teams where it's going to be a low game total and also the potential for a blowout. So that limits the amount of good plays that we have on paper. Okay, so I do think it's going to be more difficult to create a good build. And I'll show you guys here what I mean. So like first and foremost, guys, the first game between New York versus Indy, it's a 12-point spread and a 224 game total. That's pretty ugly, and it's a tough matchup there for the Pacers. On the next game, guys, we have the Clippers, about an 8-point spread, a very low game total, 210. Clippers get a tough matchup against Houston. Dallas actually gets a tougher matchup against Phoenix. Phoenix is an 8-point favorite. And then the last game, kind of appealing. The Lakers are going to be 8-point dogs in this game, almost 9-point. That depends on whether or not Luka and or Reeves end up playing. If they end up sitting, then that game becomes much more ugly. But I don't know if we'll get that news before lineup lock. Okay, so that's the tough part. We could be getting some good value for the Lakers, but we won't know that, at least as I'm recording this video. We don't know that. So we'll start out here with this first game, which is going to be the Pacers versus the Knicks, guys. And looking at the long list of players that are out or projected to sit, that is what makes this difficult as well. Now, a player that I've been on a decent amount recently has been Walker here, and I would argue he is still too cheap. Ended up not having the best game in his previous game, 4 for 14. Obviously, that's not great. You give him a couple more buckets there. He's at 30 DFS points once again on this small 4-game slate. I'm happy to get to him still. Love the multiple position eligibility. On top of that, if Aaron Naismith is out, that only benefits him as well. Then we go ahead and take a peek at a play like Jay Huff. He's most likely going to be forced into a lot of minutes here with Micah Potter probably sitting. Again, we still need that update, but at least we'll have that information prior to lineup lock or slate lock. So if Micah Potter ends up playing, you could play Micah Potter at his price tag. Definitely too cheap, but for now, Jay Huff is definitely an appealing option there at such a cheap price tag. Then other plays like Cam Jones has been someone that when he's got minutes hasn't been terrible. Wouldn't be surprising to see him have a very good game. Some people might be tempted to get to Jackson as well. Either way, I'm perfectly fine with either of those two values, especially if, again, Aaron Naismith ends up sitting. But we also have TJ McConnell, who could end up sitting as well. So if he ends up sitting, both of those options become much more appealing. And then if you also get someone like Aaron Naismith out, then we're also getting a decent play. Ben Shepherd is someone that, again, we're getting enough decent plays, and especially with the likelihood for this game to be a blowout. I think our value is going to come here from the Pacers. And so from there, we just take a peek at like which players are currently the best values here. We'll go and just take a peek at the Pacers, guys. TJ McConnell, if he plays, sure, he's not bad. Aaron Naismith, if he plays, he's not terrible. But again, if those two sit, or if one of them sits, that just means everyone else is going to benefit a decent amount. I like that dig into Jay Huff. Jackson for a 4-game slate is going to be in play as well. And then we go ahead and take a peek at the New York Knicks, guys. Karl-Anthony Towns is a little bit too cheap, especially if OG does end up sitting, who is currently questionable. OG has been someone that's been playing well recently, and some people might be tempted to get to him. I don't hate that, but as it currently sits right now, we are struggling to get to center plays, and since Cat is popping up as a good center play, has a good chance to get a double-double, I think we just go with him. And then let's go ahead and get into the Clippers versus the Rockets, guys. Injury-wise, no one's really out. Okay, so that's at least a good thing. We also had the first game here for Benedict Mathurin with the Clippers, so kind of interesting there. Don't really know what to expect. I'm kind of taking more of a wait-and-see approach. It wouldn't be surprising to see him have a massive game, but we don't really know how that's going to hurt or help any other players. Ultimately, I think that would obviously hurt Chris Dunn, probably Miller and Sanders. John Collins, will it hurt Kawhi? I don't know. So I don't necessarily want to mess around with that. And then center-wise, Brook Lopez should be doing better than he is. 26 minutes, guys, just not shooting the basketball all that much. Isaiah Jackson's going to be active in this game. It'll be interesting to see how many minutes he gets. And then also, I think that just limits the amount of appeal that we could get to here with this center play. So ultimately, it is very difficult for me to get to any of the Clippers plays. And if we look at the data, guys, that is exactly what it's telling us here as well. So don't necessarily love any of the spots that we could get to there. Maybe Isaiah Jackson, but again, probably a little bit too thin. We take a peek here at Houston, the flip side of that. Again, also pretty thin here. So again, I mentioned it. It's an ugly sight, guys. I can't control that. So we jump into Dallas versus Phoenix. I hate to say it, guys, but just not that pretty of a slate. Yes, Grayson Allen's out. Cole Anthony's still out as well for the Suns. I don't necessarily love the spots that we're getting to here or can get to here. And so we take a peek at the Dallas plays, guys. Again, not much here. I mean, I don't hate the idea again to Daniel Gafford. I don't hate the idea again to PJ Washington. To me, they are basically correct, but they're kind of the typical shoulder shrug plays. If we end up on them, I'm content with that. Cooper Flagg is arguably a little bit too high priced. He did come in off of a poor game finally. If you want to jump back on him, you can. And then for Phoenix, yeah, a little bit. I mean, Ryan Dunn is always something that casually pops. I don't know if we necessarily need to get to him. Devin Booker does feel a little bit too cheap with Grayson Allen out, but also not necessarily a spot where I feel like we need to go on. With Jalen Green being back as well, that does take away some usage away from Devin Booker, but he's kind of a player that with the Pacers value that we're getting, I'm fine paying up for him. And then it is worth calling out, guys. Mark Williams has been playing better recently. I'm fine chasing the ceiling out of him in a good matchup. I know the data doesn't necessarily love that, but I like kind of chasing that. And so Devin Booker, again, I will be getting to him as well in the shooting guard spot. And then once again, guys, this Lakers game, very difficult to break down. Okay, we do got Luka. Okay, no, that's still from Monday. Okay, so we don't know whether or not Luka's going to play or Reeves is going to play. Obviously, again, that makes this difficult. I'm not really going to touch on it too much. Larivia, Smart would benefit if they're both out. If they're both out, LeBron is certainly someone we should begin to aid and benefit. Anyone that's starting is going to be in play there for the Lakers, okay? And then for the Spurs, Castle's a little bit in play, Wemby's a little bit in play. You know, they're all just kind of properly priced. Again, that's just the slate that we have. And so to give you guys a first look build here, I will put Jackson in there, although, again, that could be thin. Maybe we get to McConnell instead if McConnell actually ends up being active. You could get to Cam Jones as well if Aaron Naismith is out instead. But then we have 6.7 left over. We have much more wiggle room here. It really just depends on who you want to pay up for. The data did end up liking Castle, and so I don't mind the idea of getting to Castle. He's been someone that's been playing better recently as well. And then we have the forward spot left over, 6.1. I'm fine getting a PJ Washington. Again, I view him as a shoulder shrug play, but ultimately he should be in for a good spot here just in general with how thin the Mavericks have been and are. And so now we just go ahead and take a peek at what the 9-to-5 lineup builder is spitting out to us as some of the top builds. It is getting to Walker, Shamet it likes, Dylan Harper. I'm okay with that, Hachimura. So this lineup I actually really like if Luka and Reeves are both out. And so could end up being fine. Wemby's going to be in for a good spot. The data does really like Karl Anthony Towns. I'm fine with that. Sanders is not a bad value, just as an FY. I'm kind of okay with both of these top builds. I actually decently like my first look build. It could be unique enough, but that's just like, guys, we're not getting any egregious values just yet. And again, just the games as a whole are not appealing for the slate. I can't control that. What I can control is setting the stage for the slate, and I think I did a good job of that. That's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you for being here. Good luck with all the lineups that you make today. And as always, guys, let's keep cashing.